Yeah, the revelations now televised. A platform for you and I, an outlook with full heart and clear eyes. Now, these are just my thoughts. Truth on how I feel on these topics I reveal. Please know my toll, I always keep it real. Can't face the word if you can't face facts. For your time, just open up your mind. That's it, just live, think big, now take that. With God in me, this here was made by design. Yeah, the revelation will be televised. REVELSations.
Okay, welcome back to the Revelations podcast. This is part 3 of a 3-part series I'm doing on stepfathering, and I am happy to have a female voice in this space here. And before I introduce my guest, just to let you know, we have already talked to Ron and we have talked to Elliot about stepfathering, and I'm taking what they said. I'm trying to learn. So walk with me on this journey as we're going through this process. But I have Traci Gross here with me today. Traci, how are you? And welcome to the podcast.
I'm good, and thank you for having me.
Okay, Traci, let us know a little bit about yourself, anything you want to share, you know, where you live, who you are, and I know you have a daughter, and you could talk about her a little bit as well.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in Oakland, California, and since then I've moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, and now I'm here in Los Angeles, California. I just turned 49 years old. I have a twin sister. Yeah.
Black don't crack. We know it. We know it.
Yeah. So, pretty much, you know, my daughter, she will be turning 14 next month on the 2nd, and she keeps me very, very busy. Okay. Super busy. I can't keep up with myself sometimes, but she enjoys cheer. She's a girly girl. She enjoys like hanging out with her friends from school, and you know, whatever teenagers like to do, especially at TikTok, that's what she's into. So
I understand. Yeah. I understand that. And you are dating, right? You have a man in your life. Am I correct?
I do. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So, but he is not the father of your daughter.
No, he's not. He and I met back in 2018, and I didn't introduce her to him until maybe around July of 2019, because I just wanted to make sure that, you know, he's good and he's the one, and he's a great guy. I couldn't ask for a better man. Like, you know, you get these guys and you date, and you know, they're lacking something, but he has everything that I, you know, wanted. And you know, God says that, you know, that he doesn't give you what you want, he gives you what you need, and that's exactly what he did. Yeah.
So I'm going to speak as a man. When you were saying that, I was smiling, of course, because men need to hear that too, like what you just said. So hopefully you say that to him. I'm quite sure if you do, like, women don't realize that when you compliment your man, it's like putting an S on our chest, like we Superman. We ready to run through a wall for you. So I think that's beautiful. And does he have children of his own?
He does not.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And I was pretty shocked at that when I first met him, because he's 48. So yeah.
Well, we do exist. I am 41. Yeah. I do not have children, so we exist. We are a rare breed, but we do exist. Okay, so I've been talking about stepfathering. I was raised by a stepfather. I know my biological father. Me and my biological father do not have a relationship. I don't hate my biological father. I refuse to say anything negative about him. I believe that, you know, we're to honor our mother and our father, like the word says. So I believe in that. So I don't say anything. I wish I did have a relationship with him. I'm in therapy because I don't, I'll be honest, but, you know, that's okay. But I did have a great stepdad who came in when I was 4 or 5. Of course, my memory doesn't, you know, I don't know when I was 4 or 5. Right. And he was around until he passed away in January of 2022. And he was there. So he was there at every basketball game, every time I scraped my knee, you know, every birthday, every graduation. So I grew up with a dad. He just wasn't my biological father, but my mother already had 5 kids before they met. Now he had kids as well. And they ended up getting married, and he stayed around, and through the ups and downs, it was a successful marriage. But I would tell my dad, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a stepdad. Like, because I'll be honest with you. I thought being a stepfather was a raw deal. And the reason I thought it was a raw deal is twofold. One, he poured a lot of things into us, but we were still not his. So anything we did, even though he was pouring into us, my father could sort of take some credit because I'm flesh and blood of his blood. And since when I was younger, I had a better relationship with my dad, I would still say things like, I want to go stay with my dad for the summer, or I want to go see my dad for 2 weeks. And I'm thinking like, man, I'm doing all this, bringing my entire paycheck home, and this kid still wants to go somewhere. So I didn't necessarily like it. So I am trying to walk through a conversation with multiple people to see if I can have my mind change, because as I get older, I'm not really meeting any women without kids. And like you said, you were surprised by meeting your gentleman. So that's why I'm doing this. And I wanted to talk to a lady who's in the situation to see what you were looking for when you were dating in a man who would one day be stepfather to your daughter. So I want to go all the way back when you first started dating. You said that you did not introduce them for the first, it sounded like a year, but maybe it's a couple of months. Talk to me about that and why.
Well, I didn't do it, first of all, because, she's a young girl, and I wanted to make sure that he would be around in my life so that there was nobody else that could be out of her life again. So if that situation happened, because her dad is in another city, he wasn't around her when she was younger. So she didn't have that father-daughter relationship, especially in the house. At one point, she told me when she was younger, she would see the kids and their fathers picking them up from school. Why does my daddy want me? And, that was really hard. So I had to, that cut deep. So I really had to, explain to her. And then at the same time, I wanted to protect her. I didn't want her to go through something like that again, having someone in her life and then they're up and gone. And then she feeling that way again. So I just wanted to make sure, like, the guy, every time a woman dates a man, she wants a man to, of course, be a good man. I wanted him to, I saw that, first of all, I saw how he loved his mother. And that really got me because he's so into his mother. He loves his mother so much. And he looks out for her. He grew up in the church. So he's, faith, God around him. He, is a Christian man. And, he has a good heart, good intentions, really laid back and non-confrontational. And, he's just a good guy. And everybody that I met that knows him, because I met him through my brother and a mutual friend, and everybody said the same thing about him. No one said like, oh, he's okay, or oh, he's known for this or that. Everybody said very, very good things about him, nothing bad. So I was like, okay. So once I, felt comfortable, we dated, we went places, we did things. He met my mom, my sister, of course, and then he finally got the chance to meet my daughter, and it was a good thing. So I just wanted to make sure that I was gonna be full in with it, and he was full in with it. And so
I think that's great that you did the mother thing, like you protected her and made sure that she didn't have a man running in and out. And you also protected your image, right? Because you just like, you don't want a lot of men around, right? And your daughter's just seeing you out here like, that's mama. I really don't want to see my mom. I don't think anybody does. So how did you approach the conversation? So I'm going to ask you a question and then sort of give you why I'm asking it. So approach the conversation with him about your daughter. And the reason I'm asking that is because when I have dated women with kids, now it's never been serious where like I want to marry her, or I am, just in the initial dating part. I haven't really even got to the serious stage. And a part of that is because they come in the door saying, my daughter is number one, or my son, my kid is number one. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that. And then they say things like, they will always be number one. I have to take care of my kid. And I get it. But then I noticed that when I'm talking to them, it's not just taking care of the kid that is number one. Their kid's happiness is number one. And and as a single man with no kids, that is sort of frustrating. Now, you can call it selfish, but I'm me, I'm a person, I have feelings too. So I'm going into a situation where I'm with a woman. She wants me to make her first in her life because every woman does, every man does. It's fine. But she will never make me first. She's telling me that her children are first, and not only first as far as taken care of, because I'm an adult and I can take care of myself, but even their happiness. So I've been sort of turned off by it, because it would be me walking into a situation where I know I'm never going to be the most important, and my happiness is never going to be number one in that woman's life. So when you had the conversation about your daughter and your relationship with your daughter to your man, how did that conversation go?
Okay, well, I just want to touch on something, because I understand when a woman says that they will always make sure their kid is first. It's I think you would probably better understand it more if you had a child.
Okay.
Because when I didn't have my daughter, like, I was carefree. It was like nothing I was scared to do.
Yep.
When I had her, everything changed. Everything changed. Everything I did, I thought about my child first, because it's like I had to make sure that I'm here to take care of her, because I can't even imagine like leaving this earth, leaving her, because she needs me, But I think if you actually had a child, that kind of would change. And then as far as, being put first, your child depends on the parent. They can't survive without them. If you don't feed them, who's going to feed them?
Yep.
So
I agree.
I think the level of being that number one spot is different, because your relationship with your significant other, that's a totally different type of love and relationship. And versus you having a child, that's a totally different type of love there. So I think, I will say my daughter comes first, because I have to take care of her. I have to. I look at Jerome, that's his name. He can take care of himself. He can do what he needs to do. But as far as the loving and the intimacy and that, I will always make that, a top priority, to make him feel like, and let him know that he's number one there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I interject for a second? Okay. So I've never had the luxury of having a woman be able to articulate that the way you just did. Okay. Where I get it. I know, I'm fairly wise. I know that the kid can't do for him or herself, right?
Yeah.
We don't, your daughter's 13, 14. Can she feasibly take care of herself? Yeah, she can get herself a bowl of cereal. She might be able to cook, but overall, she can't pay mortgage and get herself signed up for school. So of course you have to do those things. And Jerome can take care of himself. He can literally make his own meal. I know that he has lived his life more years than you have known him. So therefore, clearly he can take care of himself. But what you said that was different than I've ever heard was the intimacy and the priority and the relationship. That part, you're making that a priority. From what I've heard, it's been, hey, even the relationship, or the, as I said earlier, the happiness. So the example would be, I want to go on a date with my girl, or the girl I'm dating. I want to take her out. And kid wants to do something that same day. Well, it's been my experience where the woman is, my kid wants to go to the water park. So she would go to the water park. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, hold on a second. That's where my frustration has come in. Not because she has to take care of the kid, but I can never develop the relationship I want with the woman, because she's so concerned with maintaining the relationship and making the child happy. Maybe it's just my experience, but my experience is my reality. So well, go ahead.
With that, everybody wants their child to be happy, because you get a child that grows up that has all these issues because their childhood was messed up, right? So I want to make sure that my daughter is always happy, and I have to say she's spoiled too, but I want to make sure she's happy, because I don't want her to have a messed up childhood. I don't want her to think back to say, my mom never did anything with me. She was always out with her boyfriend or her husband. She never took me places. She never did these things. So with my daughter, it happens a lot. We're very busy. We get invited places. She gets invited to a slew of birthday parties, her cheer squad. They have all these events. And I'm very lucky because Jerome is very understanding. I include him in those events as well. Like, you know, if you want to come along, but then there are times where, you know, we just need our me time. And so we'll have to split the day up. So we'll do the day thing and then we'll turn around and then we'll do our thing, you know. And Kennedy, she understands that. A lot of times she's like, Mommy, I don't want you to go, but I gotta go. You know, I need my me time and I need time with, you know, Jerome. So she understands it. So we just like split the time. We're very, very busy, always on the go. Every time we turn around, there's something. Like, we got a slew of things this weekend that we have to do, but I make sure that we balance the time. And even with just like me, I help you know, I help my brother out a lot with different things. And he's like, oh man, again, you know, but he understands and he knows that it's family, and it's not that I'm just going to hit the club and doing these things and taking the time away, but we always make time. And he's so good about, even if it's just a lunch date, you know, we'll do it. So we kind of split the time, but she, you know, there's things that she wants to do, and there's times that we just can't do it because we made other plans. So with each other. So we just
from what I'm hearing is you're purposeful in with making time, like you said, the lunch date. It may not be an entire day, but it's a lunch date. And I think that's awesome that you do that.
Yeah.
So before he met her, or right when he met her, around that time, did you have conversations with him about the relationship you have with your daughter? Those type of things, or
yeah,
what?
Because even just like in phone conversations, she'll be in the background, and you know, I'll just, you know, discuss things like in our day or whatever. And he, you know, he pretty much knew how, like, what type of girl she was, you know, busy. I was busy with her, and yeah. So I mean, he knew, you know, and he asked questions like, you know, what does she like to do? Like, he was very in tune to that. So he made it a point to really ask me questions to get to know her, you know, like before he actually met her.
Okay. Yeah. And then to cultivate that relationship, because I'm imagining, or I'm assuming, however you want to say it, that if he has a relationship with you and you said to me that he is stepfathering her, that relationship. So how did you help cultivate that relationship between them two? Between your daughter, or did you take a hands-off approach? Like, because as a mother, you have to protect your daughter while you're introducing this new man into the life. So how did you, you know, use your artistry to make that happen? Or did you say, hey, you know what, it's on you two to figure that out?
No, so I think it was his suggestion when he first met. He was like, let's do something fun. So we ended up going to the Santa Monica Pier. And that's when he, you know, it has to be fun for the kid, you know, to be interested. So you have to kind of like, hey, this is Mommy's friend. He's going to go with us to the pier, and then just hang out doing something fun. And you get those, like, he got the chance to talk to her and ask her questions and, you know, have fun. And, you know, she's happy. She's at the Santa Monica Pier getting on rides. We're getting on rides. And it just kind of organically happened, just like our relationship, you know, organically happened. But I mean, it was just bringing that thing. It wasn't, we had to make it kind of fun, because if we're just sitting there, she's going to be quiet, and, you know, it might be a little awkward, but to get an activity in there to, you know, make that little cohesiveness and make it fun. It was an easy meet. It was real easy.
Okay. And one of the things that I've worried about, and or when I've talked to women who have had kids and have dated them for short times in their life, is parenting style, right? Like, parenting style is important. Discipline and what you want your kids to be into, screen time, all of this stuff matters. And as a man, when I have talked to a woman and I'm, you know, met her kids, or she didn't take the 9 months for me to meet her kids, because I didn't talk to her for that long. You know, it wasn't even 9 months, right? So I met her kids more recently, and I didn't necessarily like how, or if I didn't like how something happened in the parenting, or she's letting the kid eat ice cream for dinner. And I'm like, that's not the best thing in the world, or too much screen time or what have you. As me, like, I'm not allowed to say that kid shouldn't be doing that, because they can always pull the "you're not my daddy" card, or she can pull the "that's not your kid" card. So when it came to parenting style, how did you and how do you interact with Jerome around that? Because it's this is going to sound harsh, but that's not his daughter. It is his daughter, right? It is. He takes care of her, but brass tacks, biologically, that's not his daughter. So if he ever wants her to do A and you want her to do B, how does that work? Because as a man who might potentially date or marry a woman with a kid, that is a fear. Or not a fear, that's a concern.
For sure. Yeah, I get that. But I think it all starts with the child and what the parent teaches that child: respect. As long as Kennedy has respect, so she's not, if he tells her something to do something, she's not gonna say, I'm not gonna do that. She knows that there's a respect that you have to have with adults, and being that he is my boyfriend, she has to respect him. She's never disrespected him. And if he were to tell her to do something, she would do it. With me, she'd be like, I don't want to, but she's not going to be confrontational with him, because she's just not that type of child. But I've always taught her to be respectful, and she knows, he's never yelled at her. He's never had to, get real, I won't say forceful, but he hasn't had the, oh, are you there? Okay. He hasn't really had to discipline her per se, but if he told her to do something, she would do it. There's a lot of things, being a teenager, leaving stuff around, dropping stuff on the floor. He'll be like, hey, Kennedy, you got to be careful. You got to pick this up. And I know it gets really frustrating for him, but he'll tell me, hey, babe, make sure she know to do this or do that. Or if he sees it, he'll say, hey, Kennedy, make sure you don't throw marshmallows outside, because we don't want ants to come, whatever it is. He'll tell her, and she'll say, okay. And she'll, I guess, do her best to do it. But, kids, they're going to do what they do. But she will never, let me take never back. I don't never say never, because you never know what someone's going to do. But she has not been disrespectful or anything like that. Now with me and her go back, and I don't know if it's the adolescence thing, but sometimes we've had our little back and forth. But he just like, you'll say, I can't believe she said that. I was like, I know, right? And so I'll talk to her about it, because it happens with me and her. But he hasn't never like really stepped in and say, hey, Kennedy, don't do that, or, watch what you say. But if he were to do that, I wouldn't have a problem with it, as long as, he's not harming her, he's only trying to help her. So, yeah.
Okay. No, that makes good sense. That he is respectful in that way. And when you were saying that you and your daughter have back and forths, I have one sister and I got three brothers, so it was five of us growing up. My mom and my sister, it was World War III all the time. Those teenage years, no, right?
Yeah,
but that's two women, like a grown woman and a teenage woman. They are gonna, it just happens. So
it's gonna clash.
Yeah, it's gonna clash. Okay, so how do you make him feel comfortable? And I think you do play a part in this. How do you make him feel comfortable with taking charge? Because sounds like a man to me, like a man.
Yeah.
Like, how we used to define manhood, not how we define manhood in 2023, which is a little weird, but that's a different episode. How do you make him feel comfortable with taking charge in the house, and even with her, again, not forcefully, not demanding, but it's almost like he has to get his, not permission, but his authority through you with her, because you had said when you were talking that he says, hey, let her know this or let her know that. I imagine if it was his son or his daughter, he would just
say it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it. So how do you
he
how do
has
you work with that?
Yeah, no, he has told her things like, "Hey, Kennedy, make sure you pick this up, or be careful, clean up behind yourself." He's told her those things, and I'm totally fine with that because she needs to,
Yeah.
yeah. So no, I mean, I want him. I never want to try to strip him of his manhood. Like, he's a man and he does the things that a man is supposed to do. So I don't have a problem with that. As far as with Kennedy, I mean, he tells her what to do. So we don't spank her or anything because these kids, it's a new era. We can't really discipline them like we were disciplined, getting whoopings and stuff, because they quick to call the people on us. So no, we don't spank her. As far as like punishments or taking things away, I have to be better at that. And he doesn't do it because he doesn't see me doing it. So that's something that, I have to work on, like taking her privileges away when she does get, beside herself. But I don't have a problem with him disciplining her. I don't want him hitting her. I don't hit her, and I wouldn't want her dad hitting her. Her actual dad hitting her. So I mean, it's just the discipline there. He can discipline her. He can tell her what to do, or if he says, "Give me your phone for an hour or whatever, or a day," I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Okay.
She would, even if it's him or me doing it. Anybody doing it, she would, because of course they want their phone or whatever, or the computer. But no, he could definitely do that without me being upset.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. A quick aside. I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but it's funny. So it has something to do with, you were talking about discipline, and we went to school, and my sister's 2 years older than me, but she's only 1 grade ahead of me. And with school, and they did like this is how you spot child abuse, and if you feel like you are being abused, they gave us a hotline. And she went home and told my mom, you can't whoop us anymore. So we grew up in the 80s and the 90s. So mom, you can't whoop us anymore. If you can, I can call DCFS. That's what it was in Illinois. Right. My mom looked at my daughter and said, you can call them, but what do you think is going to happen to you between the time you call them and the time they get here? My sister never called. So trust me, it was right. Because they can't protect you until they get here. So it's just
they get here, right? Exactly.
So no. My mother and dad raised us right for sure. Okay, so here's a question. Now, I know you said that the father of Kim was not around, but is he around now sometimes, or is he still not around?
He's around, but he doesn't make an effort to be around like he should. And that's my biggest frustration with him. In the whole situation. Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk less about him, but I do want to talk about Jerome and him. Have they talked? What kind of like how does that? Because again, as a man, I'm dating this woman, and this is going to sound old and archaic, and I got a really good female friend, and she listens to my podcast, and she's going to cringe when I'm about to say this. But that's my woman. There's a part of like I know that sounds bad, like ownership, but that's my woman. And do I necessarily want a man coming around, etc.? Right. So we do get sort of territorial. How does that relationship with the two of them work? Or do they have a relationship? Go ahead.
So from day one, Jerome was concerned about if I were ever to get back with him. And I told him, like, you ain't got nothing to worry about on that. Then he was like, well, I would like to meet him because I'm around his daughter, and I don't want him to think that, like I'm like not this good guy or whatever. He said, I just want to meet him. I'm open to meeting him. I said, that's fine. I don't have a problem with you meeting him. And I've tried several times to make that happen. And it's not Jerome, it's her dad.
Okay.
He doesn't want to do it for whatever reason. So I asked him, I said, what is it? I said, why you don't want to meet him? I said, he around Kennedy. I said, he wants to meet you, and Jerome is like, yeah, we can go, have drinks. I mean, we can do whatever. Like, he's like, I don't mind having a, a friendship or whatever, like a camaraderie, or, I'm in her life. Like, I want him to know that she's all good. He doesn't have to worry about me. So when I told him that, and I know you ain't gonna have her around just anybody. I know, you pick good people for her to be around. So I'm just like, okay. So I don't know what it is with him. I don't know if he's like ready to see me around somebody else like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know what it is, and every time I've tried to make that happen, it was okay, yeah, we can make it happen, but then he'll back out at the last minute. And Jerome asked me, and I'm just like, hey, I don't know. I said, I've tried. I said, I'm just throwing my hands up now at this point, because he obviously is not receptive to it. I mean, he could have met him a year ago, a year and a half ago, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I get that. It sounds like Jerome is a stand-up guy and he's doing the right thing. Like, I want to meet him because I'm around his daughter, and I'm always interested in that, because I'm putting myself in the shoes of Jerome. I don't know him. I've never met him, but I'm putting myself in those positions. I would want to meet that man as well. And I could understand his insecurity at the beginning with you getting back with him, because you two will be, and a part of my fear with getting with a woman who has a kid is she is going to be connected to another man forever. There, like that, whether the child lives or, God forbid, the child passes away, you two made a human, right?
Right.
So you two will forever be connected. So I'm with a woman who will always be connected to another man. Again, I believe women are territorial too, but men are territorial. And it's like, man, there's always a guy in the peripheral. Always. I don't necessarily like that. And I know a lot of men don't. And I love the way Jerome addressed it. He talked to you directly.
He did. Yeah.
And he tries to have a relationship with the father. And I don't necessarily know. I have some guesses, but I don't know it. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I can sort of maybe guess why he doesn't want to meet him. It could be some insecurity there. Like you said, he may not want to see you with another man. He could have some feelings for you still. So it can complicate the matter. So I get it. I just, as a potential stepfather one day, I'm like, that would be an awkward meeting. That would be
I would think so, but the fact that Jerome is open to it, like he suggested it, I feel like, well, wow, that's really different, and that's great, because a lot of times, it's always maybe sometimes the ego thing, egos clash or whatever. As far as Kennedy's dad, I don't know. I really don't know how he feels about it. He, maybe there's a thing, well, somebody else is going to be raising my daughter, I don't know if he's embarrassed by that. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if it's, because when we broke up, he was like, oh, you broke up with me, like, yeah, I did. Cause it just couldn't do it no more.
It was time. It was time.
And I think he holds that, against me as well. But, I just don't know what it is. And I would really, really like for them to meet, because I think it will make things easier, and then I think too, I don't know if it's like a financial thing, for Kennedy's dad, like he feels less adequate. I don't know. Maybe that's part of it. I'm not sure. I just can't speak to it because I just don't know. And he's not, whenever I ask him, he just brushes it off like, yeah, it's cool, I'm gonna meet him, but Never happened.
So I want to ask one more question about this, and then I'm going to ask you for some advice. That's how we'll end it. We'll be about another 7 minutes or so, and I'll ask you some advice. So you with the fathers, with her father and then Jerome, when you want to take a trip, because this is another worry, a trip out of town, want to do something with Kennedy. I have a friend who, I'll give you a little backstory. I have a friend who wants to move from one place to another, but in this situation, he can't, because his baby mama, well, not his baby mama, the baby daddy of his girl, so he's dating a girl, she has a kid, won't allow the kid to move because there's something in the agreement that says you can't move more than 50 miles outside of the radius. So he's frustrated because he has to ask another man for permission to live his life with his family. Does this make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So have you ever come across a time where you and Jerome wanted to do something with Kennedy and you had to consider her father in making that choice?
No, because there's no court involvement.
Okay.
There's nothing that he can say to me, and no, she can't do this, she can't do that. Okay. Like, no.
So if you wanted to move to North Carolina tomorrow, you could, and it wouldn't be an issue.
What was that?
If you wanted to move to North Carolina tomorrow, it's not like Kennedy's fathers could block that from happening.
No, he couldn't.
Okay.
No.
Because that's a fear. So I've heard men say things like one of the reasons they don't want to be with a woman with a kid is because they don't want to have to ask another man permission, and
I get that. Yeah, I get that.
I've even heard them go so far, and I'm not this way, but I've heard some men say this, like, that's why some men prefer to have a woman that doesn't work, because if he wants to take his wife on a 3-month vacation, he has to ask her boss, is that okay? Like all these things. So I get it. And so on both sides, I'm like, okay, I understand that. So I was just wondering, how that dynamic worked in the relationship. So now I want to pivot. Do you have anything to say about that before I pivot?
Well, I just think, I like to work. I don't know. I like to work, but then I have a good job where I could take vacation like that. Okay. But it's just different. I get that. I can see that. But just having to ask another man to do something when it comes to a relationship, I know that I wouldn't want to do that. So I get that perspective, but at the same time, it is a choice a man has to make when he's meeting, a woman and dating. Do I want to continue this because this is going to be an issue? And if you know how you are and you want that time all the time, then that's going to be tough, because having a kid it's
You actually, unbeknownst to you actually helped me transition into the thing about the advice. So, okay. So let's say through these 3 conversations, the 2 with the gentleman and 1 with you, I've decided, yep, I'm okay with dating a woman with kids. Advise me. What should I look out for? What shouldn't I do? I know we don't know each other very well, but act like you my sister, and help me not find a woman, but look for the pitfalls, or you should actually do this, the do's and the don't do's, if you will.
I would strongly suggest that you make an attempt, and hopefully you can meet the father, because I think that if you have that relationship with the father, things will be a lot easier. As long as the father trusts you, you would have a easy go at it. But look for a woman with kids that, of course, you have, like if a woman says to you, my child comes first, you can't take that as a negative thing, because that is something you would understand if you've experienced it. And it doesn't mean that she's going to put you on the back burner. It's just that she has to make sure her child is okay. Yep. If her child is okay, she's going to be okay, and she's going to be able to give you what you need. make sure, that like it's a good woman. You just have to make sure she's good, she's nice, she's not this mean, bitter woman.
Oh, wow.
Make sure that her ex is totally out of her past, because
Mhm.
that can cause a lot of
Make sure her
conflicts.
ex is her ex and not her
Yeah,
sometimes. Yeah.
yeah. I have friends in situations like that, and it's not good. So,
What
it's just all about finding the right woman.
Okay. And then what advice? So you gave me 3 points of advice. Okay. Meet the father. Don't take it personal if she says things like, her kid comes first, and make sure she's a
Mhm.
good person / the ex is an ex and not a sometime.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
Mhm.
maybe some advice with the relationship with the kid.
Okay. So you always want to make sure that you have a good relationship. I wouldn't come in the gate uh being demandful, like say do this, do that. You got to ease into it. You got to let it, like, you got to give them time to warm up to you. And so you want to do fun things, just spend that time so that you really get to know the child and what type of child is, because kids are different. You might have one that's really a loving, outgoing, easy kid. Then you might have one that's really difficult, and it might not be just being difficult because they're difficult, but maybe there's some issues there. So you just want to be able to recognize those things, and just go into it with an open mind, and at least try to, be this great stepdad.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work because it's just the dynamic of the kid. It's all kind of things, but just go in with an open mind and just really have fun with them.
Yeah.
Just have fun with them, and
Okay.
just don't go in like being this mean guy, like I'm coming in here and I'm gonna set things straight. Like, just don't do that.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. There is something you said, and I don't even know if you said, if you said this. You said earlier. You said, if you meet a woman with kids and you put an S on the end, and I'm telling you right now, that no,
Mhm.
it'll be one. If it's gonna be, if I am gonna
Oh,
change my mind, it's gonna be one kid. If I do change,
yeah.
if you got two, I'm like, yeah, nah, I'm probably not it. But Traci, thank you so much for joining me today. You've
You're
given me
welcome.
to think about the 3 points
Hope
with
it helped.
no, it does, and it all goes. So I really do challenge. I challenge my beliefs. I'm a growing type of person.
Mhm.
I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I push boundaries. But in a good way.
Mhm.
I always
Okay. No, that's
I try to
important.
push my self beliefs. Why do I believe this? I tell
Mhm.
my students, anything you hear, you should ask who's telling you this, like who that person is,
Mhm.
and why that
Mhm.
person is telling you something. So even with me, all my self beliefs, somewhere along the line, and I actually know why, and I'll actually share it here with you in a second. I think in my brain, children are a
Mhm.
nuisance. I do.
Mhm.
I was told that as
Mhm.
a kid. You know who told me that? My
Who?
biological father told me that because
Oh, wow.
though I won't say anything bad about him,
Mhm.
when I was younger, I
Mhm.
asked when I was about 11 years old, and this is why I think
Mhm.
stepdad gets a raw deal. My stepdad came into my life when I was 5. When I was 11,
Okay.
I asked to go live with my biological father. All the years, the
Oh.
6 years that he was being a great dad, I don't know what, I don't want that. I want to go live with my biological father. Now, my biological
Mhm.
father, again, I don't want to say anything bad about him. He told me he didn't have time for me. I took that
Mm.
as I'm a nuisance. He doesn't have time for me. So
Mm.
from 11 years old to 40, so there's been 40 years of me been telling myself children are a
Mhm.
nuisance. Children are a nuisance.
Mm.
So now
See.
I'm beginning to challenge that belief through these conversations. So that's why
Mhm.
I'm pushing boundaries. I'm pushing my own boundaries. What negative
Okay.
core belief have I set up? Who told me this? Well, I
Mhm.
told myself that my dad told me, and I told myself that children are a nuisance. Why? Well, my dad, he might not have meant it that way, but that's how I've
Mhm.
interpreted. Why have I been telling myself this for years? So I'm challenging those. So you're helping in this conversation. I would
Okay.
hope that I would meet a woman who has a child as calm as yours seems to be. That would be the goal, as less confrontational. I work with teenagers, and I would like to have your daughter in my class. Hey, everybody, sorry for the hard break there. We had some technical difficulties with Traci's device, and her call dropped. Technical difficulties, those things type of happen, but we were wrapping up anyway. I appreciate her for joining the podcast. She did a wonderful job of explaining the woman's perspective of stepfathering. So thank you, Traci, for joining the show. Your information was invaluable to me. So that's it. That's the 3-part series of challenging self-beliefs on the Revelations podcast, me challenging my own beliefs. So I got some good information from Ron about his journey through stepfathering, good information from Elliot and how he views stepfathering. And it's more of a, he doesn't necessarily try to play the dad role. He's just a part of the child's life and there for guidance and pouring legacy that way and setting that young woman up for success. And then even talking to Traci and getting some advice on the type of woman I should find if I so choose to date a woman with kids or not. Conclusion, I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I still don't know. I am more likely to do it. More likely to be open to the idea, I should say, of dating a woman with one kid, not multiple, one kid. You know, there's steps in this. We're growing, but I've learned a lot here. I've learned about the intentionalness of cultivating the relationship with the child. I've learned the idea of finding a woman who has the artistry of making sure her kids' needs are taken care of, and that being priority in her life, and that not meaning that our relationship is not an emotional priority. So I still can be the priority relationally, if you will. And I mean, I want to be the priority just like I would want to make her the priority. I learned from Elliot about legacy being more than just carried by a last name. So I've learned a lot of great things through this 3-part series of the podcast. Thank you for walking in this journey with me. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're hearing me or wherever you're seeing me now. I'll be back with more content soon. This was super, super helpful for me, and hopefully it helps some people out there. So reach out at revelationspodcast@gmail.com or on any of our social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram at the Revelations Podcast. And I'll holler at you guys next time. Peace.